Richard Gere is reportedly divorcing his wife, Carrie Lowell, after an 11-year marriage.
Throughout his decades-long Hollywood career, Richard Gere has made an indelible mark. From his breakout roles in classics like An Officer and a Gentleman to his subsequent triumphs in Pretty Woman and Chicago. Gere is now firmly established as a genuine Hollywood star because to his charisma and talent. Still, even without the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, his private life has been an enthralling one. The 74-year-old Richard Gere explains his divorce in this interview. "I've been around a while and it's been kind of amazing when I look at people, put together clips of the films I've done. His marriages to supermodel Cindy Crawford, actress Carrie Lee, and current wife Alejandra Silva all had different paths. This biography of Gere will examine his personal life, including his romances, parenting, and the reasons behind his divorces, growing up and learning." Gere was born in Philadelphia on August 1, 1949, the eldest son of the family. His dad, Homer George Gere, worked as an insurance salesman and had aspirations of becoming a priest until Doris became a stay-at-home mom. Gere was a devout Methodist child who lived in Syracuse, New York. George, a descendant of his father's side, arrived in the Connecticut colony in 1638 from Ireland. Furthermore, Gere's paternal ancestors were among the illustrious pilgrims who came to the Americas aboard the Mayflower. In 1967, Gere graduated from North Syracuse Central High School. While he was there, he became a trumpet prodigy and a gymnastics sensation. He attended UMass Amherst on a gymnastics scholarship after high school to hone his craft. At university, Gere dove headfirst into philosophy. He spent 2 years at university, excelling in gymnastics and focusing on academic pursuits, but he dropped out without earning a degree. The unconventional academic path that Gere took was molded by his diverse interests and abilities. In high school, he was an accomplished gymnast and musician, and in university he studied philosophy, all of which set the stage for the multifaceted man he would become. Early career and achievements. In 1969, Gere got his start in the entertainment world at the Cape Cod Playhouse and the Seattle Repertory Theater. In 1973, he landed his first big acting part in the original London stage version of Grease, after his appearance in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, which brought attention to his abilities. When Gere first came to Hollywood in the mid-1970s, he had trouble with co-star Sylvester Stallone and was replaced in The Lords of Flatbush, among other things. Even though he had a rough time of it, Gere became a Hollywood star thanks to his roles in films like Days of Heaven and Looking for Mr. Goodbar, as well as the murder thriller American Gigolo and the romance blockbuster An Officer and a Gentleman. The 1990s were even more fruitful for Gere, as he earned a second Golden Globe nomination for his work in films like Pretty Woman and Internal Affairs. He proved his flexibility in the early 2000s by appearing in hit films including Unfaithful, The Mothman Prophecies, and the Golden Globe-winning musical Chicago. In 1999, he was named People magazine's Sexiest Man Alive. A sudden shift occurred in Gere's career when he voiced his political views on China. His presence in Hollywood was affected by his steadfast dedication to human rights, especially in Tibet. Fearless, he dove headfirst into indie films, and his performance in Arbitrage, for which he was nominated for 4 Golden Globes, was highly praised by critics. Criticism of Gere's portrayal of a small-time Jewish fixer in the political drama Norman was universally positive, despite the fact that it was a departure from his regular roles. Among Gere's many talents throughout his career include the composition of the Pretty Woman piano theme, his playing of a guitar solo in Runaway Bride, his mastery of karate for An Officer and a Gentleman, his learning of tap dance for Chicago, and his participation in the film. Media and critics have acknowledged that Gere, despite his remarkable accomplishments, is one of the few performers to never get an Academy Award nomination. Richard Gere's tenacity, versatility, and commitment to his craft have made him a household name in Hollywood. An iconic moment in Hollywood history was the 1990 romantic comedy Pretty Woman, which featured Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. The film's celebrated masterpiece had a difficult road from conception to creation, and Julia Roberts, who portrayed prostitute Vivian Ward, revealed fresh facts about it. The film's original title was 3 O'Clock, but it was delayed when Veston Pictures, the production company that had hired Julia Roberts, went bankrupt 3 days later, laying off all of her employees. Roberts went into depth about the sudden twist that could have altered her professional trajectory. After Disney bought the rights to the picture, it was changed from a dark art picture with a dramatic ending to the romantic comedy it is today. The picture had a more upbeat and optimistic transformation under Gary Marshall's helm, earning the title Pretty Woman. Following Marshall's takeover, Roberts was required to re-audition, allowing Gere to pursue other A-listers. Roberts and Gere's chemistry was the driving force behind the film's success. Scriptwriter J.F. Roberts and Gere's casting choices, according to Lonergan, helped bring about the film's positive and joyful conclusion. Julia Roberts had a key role in luring Richard Gere to the cast, which is an interesting fact. In addition to their clear connection, Roberts's heartfelt email to Gere said, "Please say yes." This kind gesture was the last straw that convinced Gere to accept the part. Joseph F. During his discussion of the film's possibilities, Lonergan brought up the fact that Al Pacino and Michelle Pfeiffer were among the actors considered for the role. Thanks to the electric chemistry they displayed on screen, Roberts and Gere made sure the picture ended on a high note. Crucial to the success of the picture, Julia Roberts played a key role in bringing Richard Gere on board. For her role in Pretty Woman, Julia Roberts was nominated for both the Oscar and the Golden Globe for Best Actress. The film's timeless romance is a testament to the impact of casting chemistry and the power of chance that may determine a film's destiny. Protest and political engagement. When Richard Gere spoke out about his political views on China, it completely changed the trajectory of his career. He made regular trips to Dharamshala, the seat of the exiled Tibetan government, as a result of his steadfast dedication to human rights, especially in Tibet. Gere has established the G Foundation, co-founded Tibet House US, and is the current chairman of the board of directors for the International Campaign for Tibet. And Gere paid a price for speaking out against human rights abuses in China. He was banned from big Hollywood shows and award ceremonies. After becoming acquainted with the Dalai Lama, Gere used his fame to denounce China's colonization of Tibet. Gere had been a Tibetan Buddhist since he was in his 20s. After vehemently condemning the human rights situation in China when announcing the contenders for the Academy Awards in 1993, he was disqualified from ever again hosting the ceremony. He was barred from attending subsequent Oscar ceremonies as a consequence of this bold move. 10 years later, he was noticeably left out of the Oscar nominations, a rejection he publicly expressed hurting him, even though his picture Chicago had been a huge success. In 2008, Gere stepped up his activity by demanding that the Beijing Olympics be boycotted and by fighting for Tibet's independence. China has enormous financial influence in Hollywood, and he was thus barred from visiting the nation. In an interview given in 2017, Gere said that he was unable to get production deals due to the influence of Chinese financiers and that several projects were shelved for fear of angering Chinese officials. An advertisement for Lone Star Delta with a theme of Free Tibet further emphasized Gere's support. Gere persisted in her opposition to China's policy in the face of these challenges. He discussed instances when he was blocked from participating in films by Chinese authorities. The grave consequences that may befall Gere's co-workers were highlighted by his revelation of a clandestine phone conversation with a director. Because of these limitations, Gere may not be able to star in big-budget films, but that hasn't stopped him from focusing on indie projects. He was able to pursue undertakings that were in line with his values since he was financially stable because to his past successes. His 2017 film credits include Norman and the Dinner, both of which had modest budgets, and his 2019 television debut was on the BBC series Mother, Father, Son. Gere is active in humanitarian programs all around the globe and he is also a vocal advocate for Tibet. As evidence of his commitment to spiritual activities, he meditated in Indonesia's Borobudur Temple in 2011. Survival International is an organization that Gere backs because it fights for the rights and land of indigenous peoples all around the globe. In the face of fresh challenges brought forth by his outspoken stance on human rights issues, Richard Gere has shown remarkable tenacity and conviction throughout his path. Still, he will not back down from advocating for Tibet and other causes, no matter how many obstacles he faces. In addition to his acting chops, Gere is well known for his strong advocacy work, in which he has voiced his concerns about a range of global issues and shown his commitment to humanitarian causes. Currently serving on the board of directors for Healing the Divide, an organization dedicated to promoting global peace, justice, and understanding, he is a staunch advocate for environmental concerns and AIDS awareness. As part of his mission to bring about good change, Gere played a key role in the establishment of the AIDS Care Home in India, which provides housing for women and children affected by the AIDS epidemic. The country's AIDS education and awareness programs continue to have his full backing. Among the most notable events that took place in 2007 during an AIDS awareness march in Jaipur was Gere and Bollywood star Shilpa Shetty, who were both threatened with legal action for their public embrace and kiss at a press conference that encouraged truck drivers to practice AIDS prevention. A two-judge panel presided over by India's Chief Justice deemed the case baseless and reinstated Gere's entry to the country, highlighting the absurdity of the accusations, despite the controversy and the existence of an arrest order. Contributions by Gere to We Are One, a commemoration of indigenous peoples that centers on the Yuma's subjugation and land loss, demonstrate his commitment to indigenous peoples' rights. He draws attention to the horrific tales that are happening to indigenous communities throughout the globe. In support of indigenous peoples' rights, Survival International receives a portion of the book's sales. In 2010, Gere voiced his disapproval of the Iraq War, highlighting the lack of popular support for it in the U.S. He spoke during a news conference held at the Cairo International Film Festival, expressing his sadness over the effects of the war on Iraq and his hope for the reconstruction of the country. He said that George W. Bush was an awful president, and that the Bush administration had pressured the American people into making the choice. Gere was also involved in politics, lending his name and money to the 2016 presidential campaign of Hillary Clinton. He spoke out against settlement construction in the occupied West Bank in 2017 and condemned Benjamin Netanyahu's policies, describing the settlements as provocations and stating that they were entirely unlawful. He stressed that the settlements were a barrier to any meaningful peace endeavor. Environmental issues, AIDS awareness, indigenous rights, anti-war sentiments, and political criticisms are all parts of Richard Gere's engagement. Gere is steadfast in her mission to bring good change to the world by increasing awareness and addressing legal challenges, despite the controversy surrounding her. Gere discusses his early struggles as an actor in New York City, illuminating the dark times he endured before becoming famous with the 1980 picture American Gigolo. During those tough years, the renowned Pretty Woman actor reflects on a period when eggs were his staple food, drawing attention to the sharp contrast with the luxury of eating out at restaurants. Gere talks on his struggles with money in the 1970s, when he was lucky enough to have jobs but still went hungry regularly. He vividly portrays the harsh reality that several performers had to endure at that period. I've been around for a while, and it's been kind of amazing when I look at people, put together clips of the films I've done. Off-Broadway performances were Gere's entry point into the industry. They were financially precarious, mirroring the times in New York City. Particularly for up-and-coming performers struggling to get into the industry, he stresses how hunger became the norm. While acknowledging the importance of groups like City Harvest, Gere thanks his trip and stresses the need to address the fundamental human right to sufficient nutrition. He advocates for initiatives that aid those in the United States who are food insecure, since his own experience with hunger during tough times encourages him to do so. Gere stresses the importance of groups like City Harvest that work to reduce food insecurity by bringing attention to the growing expense of living and the challenges many people have in fulfilling their basic needs. Community hunger projects are vital, and Gere thinks that by lending his support, he will help ensure that all people have access to healthy food. By telling his story of tenacity and acknowledging the need for groups that aid the downtrodden, he demonstrates a dedication to make a difference and making sure that others do not have to go through what he did. Personal life and relationships. As interviewers demanded confirmation, rumors about Gere's sexual orientation persisted. Nonetheless, Gere first chose not to answer, saying that such inquiries were fruitless as every person is deserving of respect. Any room for speculation was gradually dispelled by Gere's public relationships with women. The actor is now married to Alejandra Silva. His previous marriages were to Cindy Crawford and Carrie Lee. The allegations may have swirled about Gere's personal life, but they had no impact on his professional success. It is now admired that Gere was reluctant to address the question of his orientation in the early stages of his film career. He made the argument that one should not judge someone based on their orientation. In refusing to answer such inquiries, Gere highlighted the need of acknowledging and respecting equality for everyone as a means of coping with the criticism that accompanied his rising stardom. Gere shown a dedication to individual confidentiality and the conviction that one's sexual orientation does not influence one's competence in the workplace. Conversations around the private lives of celebrities are always changing as our society develops. Gere's stance highlights the importance of privacy and diversity in all its forms. An intriguing web of fleeting relationships weaves its way through Richard Gere's love voyage, creating a tale brimming with diverse connections. His love life began in 1971 and continued until 1978, at which time he had a serious relationship with actress Penelope Milford. Between Gere and painter Sylvia Martins, he had a love triangle that lasted until 1986. During this time, Gere's romantic life took unexpected turns, interspersed with chapters about famous people who had an impression on his life that would last a lifetime. Much of Gere's path has been on his relationships and private life. Tuesday Weld, Carol Mallory, Dawn Steele, Lori Rodkin, Barbara Carrera, and the renowned Barbara Stanwyck are among the famous people with whom he has been connected. Affair allegations circulated in the media, with Priscilla Presley and Kim Basinger being the most prominent targets. Michael Edwards, who was formerly in a relationship with Presley, and Ron Snyder, who was married to Basinger, both wrote memoirs, and in theirs, details surfaced. Beyond the realm of Hollywood, Gere's love exploits extended into the realms of haute couture and show business. The fact that Gere supposedly crossed paths with models Laura Bailey, Tina Chow, De La Zero, and Padma Lakshmi adds another layer to his complex personal history and showcases his ability to traverse several circles of influence. The atmosphere in which Gere grows and encounters love changes during his romantic journey. From brief acquaintances to lifelong friendships, every interaction shaped the actor's character and the course of his events. Richard Gere comes into his own as a romantic adventurer exploring the wonderful realm of relationships in search of love in all its manifestations. In 1991, supermodel Cindy Crawford and Hollywood heartthrob Richard Gere tied the knot, becoming a power couple in the era of renowned fashion and big hair. Crawford, a promising young model, and Gere, an established actor, exemplified glitz and success. Their supposedly happy marriage, however, ended in divorce in 1995 due to marital problems. Crawford said that Gere taught her important things, including how to be famous, but that the couple's 17-year age gap was a factor in their divorce. Crawford spoke highly of Gere's intellect, curiosity, and capacity to set limits with fans during a 2013 podcast appearance. In 1988, they started their journey at a BBQ put on by photographer Herb Ritz, which was attended by a number of celebrities. The star gathering, especially Gere, who was 38 years old, captivated Crawford, who was 21 years old at the time. By 1991, They were both attending the Oscars together, and Crawford was wearing the now iconic red Versace gown that had created fashion history. Their paths continued to intersect. Crawford and Gere exchanged hastily made vows and aluminum foil rings during their impromptu elopement in Las Vegas in December 1991. They had a quick courtship and were both stunning, yet they still had problems as a couple. There were whispers that Gere and Crawford's marriage was all an elaborate PR trick, but they denied the rumors. The allegations that Gere and Crawford were homosexual were also denied outright since they were baseless. But the strain on their marriage was already high before the whispers began. They eventually divorced, saying they couldn't get over their disagreements. Crawford acknowledged that the couple's age gap and varied life phases contributed to their marital incompatibility, as well as their failure to spend enough quality time together. In contrast to Gere's well-established job and more mature interests, Crawford was on a journey of self-discovery in her early 20s and was building a name as a model. Gere remained in Los Angeles, adding to the complexities, while Crawford was always on the go due to her worldwide modeling obligations. The strains of long-distance living caused their social networks and interests to separate, and they also had emotional challenges. By 1994, Crawford had realized the need of self-improvement and had sought a divorce despite the anguish it caused. Crawford seizes the chance to shape her own life at the age of 24. Their divorce was a turning point in her life. It gave her the freedom to pursue her dreams and become an independent woman. The tale of Cindy Crawford and Richard Gere shows how difficult it is to navigate relationships when one is famous, older, and going through personal changes. Both people persisted through the challenges they faced and made distinct imprints on the lives they lived. Gere paused to think things over after his divorce from Cindy Crawford before starting a new love relationship. He crossed paths with Bond girl Carrie Lee in 1999 while filming The World Is Not Enough. Their son Homer was born after they had a covert dating phase after meeting. A new chapter in Richard Gere's love life began in 2002 when he wed actress and model Carrie Lee. The couple's announcement of divorce in September 2013 after 11 years of marriage and began a 3-year struggle in the New York County Supreme Court. The legal proceedings ended in a settlement in October 2016. Lee's desire for a more social lifestyle and Gere's commitment to Buddhism clashed, leading to the couple's divorce. After being married for over 10 years, the Hollywood pair was publicly unseen for a whole year, suggesting they struggled to reconcile their different passions. In his 20s, Gere studied Zen Buddhism under Kyo Zanjutsu Sasaki, which sparked an early interest in the practice. He spent years immersed in Zen practice before embarking on a 2008 trip to Nepal with Brazilian artist Sylvia Martins, where he saw lamas and Tibetan monks. In the aftermath of his encounter with the 14th Dalai Lama in India, Gere had a profound transformation, becoming a devout Tibetan Buddhist and an ardent disciple of the Dalai Lama. After recommitting himself to his family, Gere celebrated his 50th birthday. The same issues that beset Gere's last relationship reappeared after almost a decade of marriage. Because of Gere's increasing seclusion and emphasis on Buddhist practices and humanitarian work, Carrie Lee, an extroverted social person, became bored with him. Since Gere insisted on a great deal of seclusion, Lee joked that she was the warden since she felt stifled. They co-parented their son Homer after their divorce, demonstrating empathy and understanding for one another despite their disagreements. While Lee relocated to upstate New York to follow her artistic passions, Gere persisted on his inward path, centering his life on spirituality and charity. Their 11-year marriage came to an end with a divorce, which brought them new challenges and chances as they forked their separate courses. In 2014, Richard Gere got back in touch with an old acquaintance of his from New York, Alejandra Silva. They met by happenstance and hit it off immediately. They were both inclined to helping people and had pleasant, fun dispositions, so it didn't matter that they were 33 years apart in age. Alejandra Silva, a stunning Madrid native with black hair, knew Gere's family for many years and went to the same elementary school as his brothers. Following her dreams, she became a prominent figure in Spain, where she spoke at public events and ran a charity that helped the destitute. Gere was really touched by Silva's unwavering commitment to helping others. Gere and Silva's affair blossomed rapidly, and Silva eventually relocated to upstate New York to be with him. Their relationship blossomed as they made several public appearances together in support of different humanitarian causes all around the globe. Gere and Silva chose to take their romance to the next level in 2018, exchanging vows in a courtroom in New York City. In contrast to Gere's past relationships, which were plagued by incompatible external demands, his bond with Silva revolved on spirituality and personal growth. Stability and understanding were brought about by the couple's shared beliefs. With the birth of their son Alexander in 2019, Gere and Silva became more closer as a couple. With the 2020 announcement of the arrival of a second boy, their family expanded. For joyful holidays and vacations, Gere's adult son, Homer James Gere, from a prior marriage, joined the couple's blended family. The mixed brood of 5 youngsters seen in paparazzi pictures all add to the family's love and togetherness. At the age of 74, Gere finally tied the knot, finding comfort in a lifelong commitment to a woman who understood him on a deep personal level and believed in his mission to improve the world. Unfortunately, while on vacation with his family in Mexico, word got out that Richard Gere was recovering from a health crisis. Unfortunately, the actor's fight with pneumonia prevented him and his wife Alejandra Silva from celebrating Alejandra's 40th birthday. A number of family members were already sick by the time they left New York for Mexico. At the age of 73, Gere sought medical help for his persistent cough, which ultimately led to a diagnosis of pneumonia and a stay in the hospital. Along with Silva and their other son Alexander, his youngest kid, James, was also struck down with pneumonia. Meanwhile, James was dealing with sinus and ear infections. There was an explosion of love and support for Gere on social media as news of his health troubles broke. Assuring everyone that Gere was recuperating and feeling much better, Silva thanked everyone for their kind wishes. On Instagram, Silva shared updates, one of which was a photo of the family smiling broadly. She thanked everyone for their warm sentiments and said that the worst was gone. Subsequently, she posted an update including a cheerful picture of Gere and herself, suggesting that Richard had improved significantly and the whole family was doing better. The patients expressed their gratitude to Dr. Rios and the staff at La Jolla Hospital. The conservation project the family was working on south of Puerto Vallarta was the original impetus for their trip to Mexico. They were now well and virtually fully healed, prepared to resume their conservation efforts despite the health difficulties. As an added touch of comedy, Silva said that Gere wanted her to post the old picture of him from his role in American Gigolo so that everyone would know he was doing better. The photo was included in her update. Even in the midst of an anticipated happy family reunion, Gere's road to recovery highlights the uncertainty of health. Everyone felt better when fans expressed their support, and Silva kept them updated, reassuring them that the famous actor was getting well and looking forward to brighter times. On the cusp of becoming 75 years old, Richard Gere reflects on the intricate web of his connections and life experiences. Looking back on his painful divorces from Cindy Crawford and Carrie Lee, he gains profound wisdom from life's lessons. Gere learns the importance of being present, caring, respectful, and compassionate in a relationship when she is going through a tough time. Partnerships have lost the nurturing time and intimacy they need due to his diversions from long work and solo humanitarian efforts. A guiding light of mindfulness keeps Gere rooted in the here and now and promotes honest dialogue. By infusing his perspective with Buddhist knowledge, he is able to break free from fixating on the past or the future. While previous relationships failed due to the pressures of work, his third wife, Alejandra Silva, loves him unconditionally, and these sentiments deepen his love for her. Since discovering joy in being a hands-on dad, Gere now enthusiastically backs Silva in all her pursuits. It seems that the next few decades will be full of thankfulness, highlighting the need of modesty, dedication to development, and treating loved ones as equals. True happiness, according to Gere's story, is not found in having it all, but in being open to new experiences, humble, and always learning. Despite the ups and downs he has in life, Gere remains dedicated to his charitable work in the hopes that his story may provide comfort to others going through similar experiences. Anyone on a quest for self-discovery and satisfaction might find guidance in Richard Gere's ideas on how to achieve serenity. We can learn a lot about gratitude, understanding, and second chances from his experience. As he helps out other passengers, Gere shows how important it is to keep moving forward and satisfying the need for meaningful connection. Thank you for joining us. Come back soon.